Over in recent Marvel comics, readers have seen the return of the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards, now known as the Maker. The Maker has been launching his villainous schemes to find a way to recreate the place he used to call home. Readers saw him fight back over against the Illuminati before slipping into an unknown area and taking control of his own timeline. Now, in the pages of recent Ultimate Invasion issues, we've seen the father of Tony Stark, Howard Stark, fight back over against some of the Maker's plans. My name is Arako Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and see how close Howard is able to get over to the Maker's mysterious operation over in Ultimate Invasion issue 3. Before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button over on this video. After KANG descends upon the city of tomorrow, the Illuminati must regroup. Iron Man has a heart-to-heart with Tony Stark. Dr. Doom, the anti-Maker, prepares his own plans to deal with his evil Reed Richards. And the Ultimate Universe that the Maker thought had rebuilt frays at the edges as they prepare for cosmic war. Ultimate Invasion 3 is still written by Jonathan Hickman, featuring artwork from Bryan Hitch. We have inks from Andrew Currie. We have colors from Alex Sinclair, letters from VC's Joe Caramagna, and we still have covers over from Bryan Hitch and Alex Sinclair over on Ultimate Invasion. Really appreciate some of our heroes introduced over on the cover. I see we have Magik, Sunfire, Colossus, and a new look over at this Hulk character as well. Want to extend a big thank you over to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting our preview of the issue, and start here by focusing in on some of the excellent character work depicted over from artist Bryan Hitch. As mentioned earlier, some of the conversations between Howard and Tony kind of serve as a focal point for the issue. I would really say, surprisingly enough, that Howard Stark is our protagonist for this issue of Ultimate Invasion. So having a character like his son Tony to bounce off of is just a great way to open up this series. Really appreciate the way that Bryan Hitch really carefully renders all of these character portraits and details throughout the story. Also, I think Jonathan Hickman's dialogue is written so well across Ultimate Invasion, alongside Bryan Hitch's meticulous art. The way that Hickman really makes his audience think by asking perplexing questions in the dialogue really immerses me in this story. I think this issue has a great composition, and after this intro sequence, we are introduced over to Latveria, where the bulk of the issue takes place. Again, we have really beautiful cityscapes, amazing architecture, and that sense of nuance is still maintained over from Bryan Hitch's line across this book here. And I think this picture of the dome that we have behind the castle of Latveria is just such a striking visual sequence, and a great way for Hickman to get some of the themes of the issue across throughout the visuals alone. Of course, we have to credit Bryan Hitch for illustrating this beautiful sequence as well. And boy, if that sequence wasn't subversive enough, the way that Howard is just kind of staring out the window, looking at it with a perplexing face, once again establishes just how dark some of the subtext of the issue is. The cityscapes over in this inner Latveria building is also quite magnificent. This issue was a ton of fun because we were introduced to some alternate versions of existing characters. I don't want to give every single character away here, but Emmanuel DaCosta, who we have on the panel, is a great chauffeur introducing Howard to some of the rest of the cast members across this tale. I'm a big X-Men fan, so seeing people like Sunfire, in addition to some off-the-beaten-path Marvel characters like this new interpretation of Hulk, was a ton of fun. And again, I just think some of the writing and art is characterized so well, no matter which specific character Hickman or Hitch are working with over in this book. Some of the work specifically over with Hulk really took me by surprise, especially because I'm not super invested over in his current status quo. I also love some of these elements with Sunfire, especially with him being referenced as an emperor. I just thought this issue had so many insane ideas that it doled out at a really, really crazy pace here. I almost think Jonathan Hickman is writing a little bit like Grant Morrison in terms of unloading so many ideas across the comic book page. There are so many amazing close-up shots of characters like the Maker across this issue, which we sadly don't have included over in our preview page. But again, I think Hitch really makes the most of those close-up shots and just showing character reactions to certain developments over from panel to panel. This series is like so nuanced that watching characters react to something you just learned about is incredibly cathartic in the series. The way the sequence in Latveria ends is very dramatic here, as Howard directly asks the Maker to see some of his operation. And then we get a little bit more nuance over in the relationship between Howard and Tony, which I also appreciate. But it's these next couple sequences as we start to learn a little bit more plot details that really helped immerse me deeper into the story. Seeing more of these close-up shots and getting to witness Bryan Hitch and Jonathan Hickman pull back the curtain and just make the world of Ultimate Invasion really satisfying, I think comes off over on the page. I'd be really surprised if both Bryan Hitch and Jonathan Hickman weren't both having a ton of fun on this series, because it seems like they're able to communicate really settle information in ways that are fairly easy to absorb for the more eagle-eyed reader here. A little bit later on in the tale, for our cliffhanger, we get a follow-up on one of the plot threads from a previous Ultimate Invasion issue that I was so thrilled to see take place here. I think the culmination of this cliffhanger and some of the final elements that it leads to opens up a brand new direction for the series that I hope to see play out in the very, very near future. Also, some of the science fiction elements that this sequence tapped into really evoked so much intrigue out of Bryan Hitch's art over in the issue. So at the end of the day here, I honestly think that Ultimate Invasion 3 is one of the strongest issues of the series to date here. I feel like now we have a little bit better of an idea at what Jonathan Hickman is trying to evoke with the character of the Maker. Seeing a couple more Marvel characters introduced with some new status quos and ideas was super, super thrilling. And I also think that Jonathan Hickman has a much better understanding now of Howard Stark as a protagonist. And I'm really excited to see what he is going to further contribute over to the Marvel Comics. One interesting thing to note about some of his characterization that I didn't get a chance to mention over in our review is that Howard definitely has a drinking problem, and this issue really tries to establish that. It looks like Tony's a lot younger over in this tale as well, so it'll be really interesting to see if maybe a younger Tony will sort of rise up if anything should happen to Howard. Heaven forbid here, because we need everybody we can fighting back over against the Maker. Well, I want to know from you, were you as perplexed with this issue as I was? What did you think of some of the close-ups and facial details from Bryan Hitch's art? I think Ultimate Invasion is a really difficult book to draw, so think that this creative team Marvel assembled has been doing some excellent work here. Thank you so much for coming to check out our video covering Ultimate Invasion. We'll be back to talk Marvel Comics and to see what's next for the Maker in the near future. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.